If you ever found yourself at an arcade hastily inserting coins into the machine so you could get one more try at defeating Darth Vader while your friend's dad yells from the distance, "Stop playing the game already, it's our turn for laser tag, we gotta go!" Well, then that probably means we both had our 10th birthday parties at the same bowling alley. Which means you probably remember playing the Star Wars Trilogy Arcade machine. The Star Wars Trilogy Arcade is one of those games that played a significant role in my childhood, and yet, for about 25 years, a quarter of a century, completely archived itself away into the furthest reaches of my mind, only to recently jump back into the forefront of my consciousness with all the details and associated memories hitting me like a ton of bricks. Not unlike the last season of Lost, when all the characters remembered their former lives with each other, and everyone cries and hugs and it's really emotional, and no, I don't think this counts as a run-on sentence, get off my back. Released by Sega in 1998, just a year after the theatrical run of the Special Edition trilogy, this game takes the player through the events of episode 4 through 6, namely the Death Star trench run, the Battle of Hoth, the Endor speeder bike chase, and the attack on the Death Star 2 Electric Boogaloo. I can't really say what reminded me of this game recently, but it is clear why it wasn't at the forefront of my memory. Arcades have really gone out of fashion, and this game in particular became harder and harder to find, likely due to all the real estate it took up with its whole chair setup. So over time, I forgot it existed, despite how much I loved it as a kid. But once I got thinking about it, I realized, hey, why the hell haven't I tried emulating this? It's been over 2 decades. Surely it's emulatable now, right? Well, as it turns out, arcade machines are a huge pain in the ass to emulate. Not sure if it's because the hardware is so antiquated or what, but trying to get this game running was quite a feat. But eventually, I did get it set up and running on the old Windows 11, so does the Star Wars Trilogy Arcade game still hold up? Real quick, I want to mention some basic housekeeping stuff. First off, if you're liking this video, please consider subscribing. I cover a lot of retro gaming content, and I've got even more Star Wars videos on the way, so if that's your thing, hit the bell. Okay, thanks for listening, and back to the video. This arcade cabinet featured a joystick that worked as both a light gun and a lightsaber, and honestly, this is the only true way to play a game like this. So, to re-experience this game as best as I could, I went ahead and bought a joystick, which honestly was a cathartic feeling in 2024. It's been a long time since I've played with anything besides a standard controller, and I forgot how good this thing feels. I proceeded to spend the whole weekend playing with my joystick, tugging on my joystick, gripping my joystick, squeezing my joystick, really just having a good time with my joystick, you know? Okay, enough of that. When you first load up the game, you'll get to choose between 3 stages. I just love the menu sound effects here. In fact, the game sounds amazing, taking heavily from John Williams' score, while adding a lot of appropriately arcadey sound effects. Let's start with the Death Star level. This game is an on-rail shooter, so it really feels a lot like you're on an amusement park ride as you fly underneath Star Destroyers and dodge TIE Fighters. You could even save this useless ally if you want.
Thanks, Fox! I thought they had me.
When you get close to the Death Star's reactor, your weapon will change to proton torpedoes, as the game primes you to take your shot. You can actually shoot down Vader's wingmen with the torpedoes, which is something I can't help but do every time. When you complete a level, if you get a high enough score, you'll get a shield repair, which is pretty crucial if you don't want to spend all your allowance on extra tokens. Next is the Battle of Hoth, which honestly might be my favorite level in the game.
Spotted Imperial walkers. Imperial walkers on the North Range.
Blowing the heads off these ATSTs might be the most satisfying thing ever. The stage has a ton of little details, like the Echo-based shield generator in the background, or these cute little rebel soldiers you could friendly fire. Not that I would do that, mind you. The graphics haven't aged amazingly well, and this is most obvious in the Hoth level when you get to see the human models up close. I mean, it's a game from 1998, but I was kind of shocked how little I noticed this as a kid. The game provides a good, mostly fair challenge, with a few exceptions, like I'm pretty sure it's impossible to not get bitch slapped by this Wampa at least once.
I'll get his head! I'll get his head!
After completing 2 stages, you'll get this one-on-one duel with Boba Fett. These duels let you use the joystick as a lightsaber, and it really makes me wish we had a decent lightsaber video game. I mean, how hard could it be, right? The closest we have is Beat Saber, and that doesn't quite scratch the same itch, you know? I want to be a Jedi fighting a Sith Lord, not raving out at a discotheque. You can beat Boba by deflecting his shots back at him, and it's like, come on man, just use your flamethrower, a lightsaber can't do shit against that. The Endor speeder bike chase is fun in the first level where you have partial control over the movement. You're still on rails, but you'll have to dodge trees, which can be pretty challenging when also having to shoot down stormtroopers that are hard to lock onto. Look how ugly you are, oh my god. No wonder this was a first-person shooter. The rest of the level involves taking out stormtroopers while avoiding Ewok targets. I don't think there's any punishment for shooting them, other than guilt, I guess. Oh, come on, man. It was an accident. Don't make me feel bad about this. The Endor level caps off with a boss fight against an AT-ST, which, weirdly enough, is much harder to destroy on foot. Just ask Dash Rendar. Once all 3 stages are completed, you'll get a one-on-one duel with the Dark Lord of the Sith himself. This fight also has some fun Easter eggs, like being able to turn your lightsaber on and off, and if you turn it off at the end of the fight, this will happen.
So be it, Jedi.
You also take the same path Luke does in the movie, going from underneath the stairs to this little area over here. There's also like this JPEG of Emperor Palpatine in the background that I never noticed before, and it's pretty funny they didn't bother making an actual 3D model for him. Finally, you'll unlock the second Death Star level, and this one is way harder and less forgiving than the other stages before it. This is about the point I'd get a game over at the arcade and have to give up, lest I have no more tokens for Skee-Ball or Hydro Thunder, or Boonga Boonga, a game where you clap cheeks. One thing I definitely never noticed before was this meter at the top right-hand corner. Apparently it tracks your morality, aka how many Ewoks you've killed, which I said I was sorry for, and if you manage to go through the whole game without any friendly fire, you'll be purified in the blood of Christ. Practically speaking, this means you'll have higher defense. After the credits, you'll be given a total score, which includes how many secret objectives you've completed. Some of these objectives are like not hitting R2 and C-3PO, or defeating every single enemy in a stage, that sort of thing. And that's about it. The Star Wars Trilogy Arcade is a really fun game that still holds up today. It's a shame it's never been ported to, well, anything, and I kinda doubt it ever will be. So if you find yourself in an arcade someday and you see this thing, do yourself a favor and spend 15 minutes getting sucked into the world of Star Wars, reliving the epic battles, exciting high-speed fights, and really ugly rebel soldiers. Thanks for watching my video. If you liked this, then stay tuned for more Star Wars videos coming out from me soon. I've begun what is probably a completely futile task, attempting to play every Star Wars video game ever made. Considering there's over 100, it's going to be grueling, but hey, here's one checked off the list.
Success!
If you want to support this endeavor of mine, hit subscribe, and may the Force be with you.